Hi, this is Melanie Martinez, and today we're going to talk about the Game of Thrones and the houses of Westeros. Quick synopsis: Game of Thrones is about several noble houses who fight in multiple civil wars over who should be king of the land of Westeros. While an exiled princess finds her place in the world, she herself tries to take the crown for her own. House Lannister. Queen Cersei is the current sitting ruler of Westeros in the Iron Throne and is Cersei of House Lannister. This is Cersei currently right here. All of Cersei's children have died. She had 3 children with her twin brother, Jaime Lannister. Her children were born of incest, although her children were led to believe they were Baratheons from the late King Robert Baratheon, Cersei's late husband. Cersei went through a rebirth, having to go through a walk of atonement where she had to walk through the streets naked while the word shame was repeated and townspeople threw items and yelled obscenities at her. Some of these items were spit or feces. This is the Lannister family tree. It starts with Tywin Lannister and Joanna Lannister, both dead. Cersei blames both of their deaths on her youngest brother, Tyrion Lannister. Her mother was born giving birth to him, and he was born a dwarf, so she sees it as shame on their family, and also she sees it as Tyrion murdering her mother. And Tyrion actually did murder their father, Tywin Lannister, with a crossbow, so Cersei has much hatred towards Tyrion. Jaime Lannister, like I mentioned before, is her twin brother and also her lover and father to her 3 children who bear the Baratheon name because everybody, including Robert Baratheon and the children, were led to believe that Robert Baratheon was in fact their father, and that is not true. The House Lannister deceased children. We'll start with Joffrey Baratheon. This is him alive, and this is him dying. Joffrey Baratheon was the young evil king and was poisoned to death on his wedding day. He was marrying Margaery Tyrell, we'll talk about later. It was later revealed in the last season that Lady Orlana, Margaery's grandmother, was responsible for his death, although Cersei blamed Tyrion Lannister for his death as well with no just cause, and he was sentenced to death, but he ended up escaping and is now the hand to the Queen Khaleesi. Joffrey was promised to be married to Lady Sansa, and then before he was actually married to Lady Margaery, in which he was murdered. The second Lannister child is Princess Myrcella Baratheon, who was poisoned by Prince Oberyn's revengeful lover Ellaria Sand with a fatal poisonous kiss. This is her dying in her father's arm from her poisonous kiss. King Tommen was the youngest and sweetest Lannister of them all, and he died by suicide when he witnessed the explosion of the Sept, where his wife, Queen Margaery, yes, the same Queen Margaery his brother was married to before he died, was currently in attendance. In his grief of watching his beloved wife explode, he jumped out of his castle window. This is the Baratheon family tree. Robert Baratheon was married to Cersei Baratheon, who, as you can see, they do not share any children, although Robert Baratheon did have one bastard son named Gendry. Again, it's featured Cersei's children, and she has no connection to Baratheon, although her children do bear the name Baratheon. Robert does have 2 brothers, Stannis Baratheon and Renly Baratheon, who fought for the crown against each other after their brother Robert died. All of the Baratheons are now deceased except for Cersei and Gendry. And you can see again, here's Margaery Tyrell explain more later. These are the House Baratheon deceased members. Robert Baratheon actually died while hunting wild boar on a hunting trip, but it was a planned accident. He died because he was given poisoned wine. He loved to indulge excessively in wine. And Cersei ordered his squire to excessively serve him wine, thus not giving him much control of his reactions and being able to be killed by the boar. Also, the wine was poisoned. This is Renly Baratheon, who was killed next. He was actually killed by his brother Stannis Baratheon using black magic as they fought for the crown. The next Baratheon to die is Stannis Baratheon's daughter, Selyse. To try and invoke the god of light in his favor, Stannis and his wife Selyse watched their daughter Shireen burn at the stake here. And the next morning, in regret, her mother Selyse, Shireen's mother Selyse, hung herself in a tree nearby their camp. Stannis died later that day, after he lost the battle for the north against Ramsay Bolton. Brienne of Tarth killed Stannis to redeem Renly Baratheon, who he again killed using black magic. This is House Stark, and Jon Snow, born the bastard of Winterfell, was believed to be born to Ned Stark out of wedlock. This is not true. We recently found out he was really born by the name Aegon Targaryen to his mother Lyanna Stark and father Rhaegar Targaryen. So he was raised thinking that his uncle was his dad his whole life. Jon Snow was named the captain of the Night's Watch, where he was murdered by several members of the Night's Watch after being labeled a traitor. He was dead for about a day, but he was brought back to life by the Red Witch, so he too has gone through a type of rebirth. Once he was reborn, Jon led the Wildlings army alongside Northern armies, still loyal to House Stark, to defeat Ramsay Bolton's army and regain the North for the Stark name. He then became the king in the North. This is the Stark family tree. This is Eddard Stark, Jon Snow's father or uncle, and this is Catelyn Stark, or originally Catelyn Tully. Their children, Robb Stark, Sansa Stark, Arya Stark, Bronn Stark, Rickon Stark, and Jon Snow. Robb Stark is deceased, and so was his pregnant wife. Sansa and Tyrion had a non-consummated marriage that ended when the king Joffrey was poisoned and Tyrion was accused. Sansa was then later married to Ramsay Bolton until he died, killed by her brother and herself. Arya Stark, still alive. Bran, still alive. Rickon died at the hands of Ramsay at the Battle of Bastards, in which Ramsay also died later on. The House Stark deceased. Ned Stark was executed after being falsely accused of treason against the crown. Cersei had him killed when he was going to tell the truth about her children really being Lannisters. His son, Robb Stark, his pregnant bride, Talisa Marger, and his mother were all betrayed at a wedding they attended that has since been referred to as the Red Wedding due to the amount of blood spilled. Rickon Stark was killed by Ramsay Bolton at the start of the Battle of Bastards, where his brother Jon defeated Ramsay Bolton and won back the North, and was given the name the King in the North. This is House Targaryen. House Targaryen is survived by Queen Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, first of her name, the Unburnt, Queen of the Andals and the First Men, Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, Breaker of Chains and Mother of Dragons. She herself has gone through a rebirth when she stood in the fire and survived and emerged with her 3 dragons, who were also reborn. This is the House Targaryen family tree. This is Daenerys Targaryen, her late husband Khal Drogo. These are her parents, Aerys Targaryen, the Mad King, and Rhaella Targaryen. Her brother Viserys Targaryen, also deceased. This is where Jon Snow and Daenerys' relationship connects. Lyanna Stark is actually Jon Snow's mother, and Rhaegar Targaryen, Daenerys Targaryen's brother, is Jon Snow's wife. This is even more interesting because Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow become romantically involved in the latest season. The Targaryen deceased. This is the Mad King, which is Daenerys' father, Aerys, who was killed by his own Kingsguard, Cersei's brother Jaime Lannister, before Daenerys was even born. This is Rhaegar Targaryen, who was killed by Robert Baratheon at a war that happened before the show even started. Drogo, Khaleesi's deceased husband, kills her brother Viserys by pouring a golden crown made out of molten gold, in which he dies immediately. This is House Tyrell, and everyone in House Tyrell is deceased. First we'll go over Margaery Tyrell. She had the misfortune of twice marrying a king and seeing that king die. Both times she dried her tears and quickly found another king to marry. She was first married to Renly Baratheon, but Renly Baratheon was sexually involved with Margaery's brother Loras, so their marriage was never consummated and was purely platonic. So Renly died, and she was then promised to Joffrey, the young evil king. But like we already said, her grandmother had him killed by poison, so her granddaughter did not have to endure his evilness. And she was then married off to Tommen Baratheon, the only marriage she ever consummated. Margaery was killed at the Sept along with her father and brother, completely wiping out House Tyrell. And this death is what caused Tommen Baratheon to kill himself. This is the family tree of House Tyrell. This is the grandmother, Olenna Redwyne, who poisoned the young Baratheon king. This is her father, Margaery's father. As you can see, he only had 2 children, and now all of them are deceased. House Tyrell is no more. This is a picture of Cersei watching the Sept blow up, where House Tyrell is now wiped out. And that completes our Game of Thrones Houses of Westeros PowerPoint. Thank you for watching, and please post any questions or comments. And I hope if you have not seen Game of Thrones, you are now intrigued at wanting to start. Thank you.